Hello, hello. Welcome to Revolutionize Your Marketing with AI. I'm REBL Risty, and today we have Todd Merrill, who's going to talk to us about, hey Todd, about what he's doing to help clients and this whole idea of is software engineering dead? Can we just do it on our own? Shall we answer that question, Todd?
Very
Welcome.
complicated.
I
Very.
know.
Yeah.
Actually, well, first of all, why don't you introduce yourself to
Yeah.
my audience? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what
Yeah.
you do.
Yeah. So Todd Merrill, I'm a consulting CTO. I run a CTO practice and help a lot of mid-market, lower mid-market companies. I also kind of a sucker for the startup story. So I seem to run into a lot of very, very early stage people as well. And I love helping out where I can. Angel investor, and I deal with a lot of venture and private equity the last couple of years. So have pretty good understanding for the state of software, and it's very confusing right now.
Yeah.
And I think I had probably 4 or 5 conversations today about the same conversation with all kinds of people. So it's a nutty time, but great time to be alive.
Yeah. And you and I, unfortunately, got to speak a little bit. Maybe just set the background of
Mhm.
what your background is
Sure.
so that people understand
Yeah.
why you have your opinions that you do.
Yeah. Bachelor's, master's engineering, computer engineering. So hardcore, from the 80s. I was doing machine learning proper with CNN convolutional networks for visual models for cruise missiles in 1990, before NVIDIA, before GPS. So I've been doing this a long time. I've got patents from, 2013 for natural language processing for machine learning models in the hiring process. So we've been doing natural language processing before LLMs were cool and a thing. So my whole background, and I'm a founder. I've been a CEO. I've taken investment, so I understand kind of the business side of things as well. And I have a very deep, obviously very deep software engineering background. I deal with lots of software engineering teams and processes. Have built lots of them, and I consult daily with people who are trying to figure all this stuff out at all levels of the society. It's The pace of execution right now is super fast and dizzying. And just when you think you got it figured out, whammo, there's something new every couple months. That's blows up your whole worldview. I'm coming at this from a software engineering background, probably, I don't know, a year ago, my standard line, I bill by the hour. I'm very, very expensive, high-end consultant. I would tell people, hey, yes, I can code, but you should not pay me to code. It's not. You should
Yeah.
not. That's a bad use of money. You should pay me to help organize your coding team and figure out how to go faster. I think this year that all flipped for me. So with some of these coding tools, we've kind of figured it all out. Where I'm now telling people, hey, you really need to buy a week of my time for 10,000 or whatever the weekly rate is, and let me set this all up for you from nothing. Like what a crazy flip in the world. But that's the kind of power we have now in some of these AI tools. The good ones can offer a lot of leverage. The not so good ones, some of the legacy ones, looking at you, Copilot, you're just gonna create a mess and get everybody frustrated, and you're not gonna get a lot of results. So a lot of words to say. I'm a software
Yeah.
guy. I'm
Yeah.
suffering with the rest of everybody out here in the world, and it's an awesome time to be alive.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate your openness because I think a lot of it's funny. I was just having a conversation, coffee this morning, and we came to like, do you think software engineers are going to lose their jobs? And because we had spoke, I said, I don't think so. It's like everything else; it's evolving. A lot of people would say I'd be losing my job because no one needs the marketing anymore. You can just have AI do it. But
Right.
we're learning very quickly that's not the case. And
So
to your point, don't
yeah.
pay me to manage your social, but you'll definitely want me to manage your marketing strategy. And
Yeah. There's a couple of real subtle points there. Is AI eating our lunch, our jobs? I think there's been a lot of job loss. I don't think it's because of AI yet. I think it's because we've had a really bad economy for a minute. And then that's what a lot of people are hurting. For me, in my business, it started the day Silicon Valley Bank had their crash. And that stopped zero interest rate policy, which stopped a lot of the venture spending or made it a lot more difficult. Now the
Right.
interest rates started going up. And there's been something weird in the economy. So I think there's something in the background that's macro that's going on, that's most of the job loss. Now, will AI transform how jobs look in the near future? Absolutely. And then what we preach all the time is, I don't want AI is not going to replace people. People with AI are going to replace other people without AI, right? And that's to say, the future's not AI agents are going to run your whole company. That's kind of silly. Don't go name your agent Bob and put him on the org chart. Like, I hate that. That's not a thing, that's dumb. But what I'm seeing is very, very good people that adopt AI. It magnifies that capabilities quite a bit, and then you can leverage it out to the team if you can get a little technical help. That is super impactful in the organization. And what smart companies that I'm talking to, look at this is they say, hey, we don't want to replace anybody. Well, we really, it's tough times for everybody. We need more out of everything. And this is a way to get more operational leverage out of the people that you do have, and you can do more and more and more, right? And then so there's kind of the sword cuts both ways here, where there's a few companies that are out there that are figuring it out pretty quick, and then when the light bulb goes on, it goes on very fast and violently, and people get it. There's a lot of people that kind of looked at AI and don't get it, don't understand it. It's not doing what I think it should be doing. If they don't get up the curve, they're going to get run over. So there's just going to be this giant. The guy at lunch said it's a K curve, right? So these people are going to go like this, and these people are going to go like that. But I think that's about to happen, and it's happening now. We're at the very beginnings of it. So, yeah. I don't think AI is eating everybody's jobs yet. I think if your job is to type into a spreadsheet and keep track of stuff, that's not gonna be your job for very much longer. But if you understand that business and you're just doing it to cope, good news. Your life's about to get a lot better, and you're going to get out of that grind mode of hacking on spreadsheets, and get to think about the business and doing more strategic things.
Yeah. No, and it is a different world that we're coming into. And it's like everything. It's scary, it's exciting, you don't know where to start, and it's evolving so fast. That's, to me, is where I get overwhelmed. And so I just remind myself, like, you can't do all the things and play with all the tools. You've got to really focus and figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
When you're working with clients, where's a good starting point for them? Like, how do you help them realize what they can do and how to get started?
Absolutely. So I struggle with this early this calendar year. So obviously I come back from a deep machine learning background, and I kind of didn't understand why do we care about LLMs? Because it was just kind of write a better term paper or better email or a better copy, which is okay, but it's not game changing. And a lot of my I'm in a consulting company where I have a lot of really smart, non-technical C-suite peers that help a lot of people, and then particularly CMOs came and said, I know this thing can do what, X, Y, Z, but I just can't figure out how to make it go. And then, it was a CMO, and then she said, hey, it was something simple. It was like, I want, it ought to be able to just go look at my file system, look at my emails, pull out the last 5 emails I had with a client, go to my standard template in my standard service offering and write a proposal and send it out, or at least write the draft of the email. Like, it needs to be able to do that. And then she couldn't figure out how to put the pieces together. And then so, I kind of went down this road of practical AI is what I'm going to call it. And then the big unlock for me was Claude, Anthropic, proposed a standard called MCP basically a year ago, Christmas. And then, so it hasn't been out that long, right? And then all that means is you can now connect your LLM, which writes beautiful paragraphs, to tools like LinkedIn or HubSpot or Canva or email or calendar. And now you can do these glorious mashups of things where you can just in natural language say, hey, go to my email, look at who I met with at lunch today on my calendar, get those email people, and then go look at the last 5 emails with them, and then you can do things like that. And then, so that's where I recommend people start with is just go get Claude Desktop. ChatGPT is coming right up behind them, and I have no doubt that they're going to figure it out. And there's others. So just go, like for me, Claude kind of was the one that started this particular wave. There'll be others. Just go get it. Get a couple connectors, connect a little bit of your infrastructure. Some infrastructure is easier to connect than others, and then just start playing with it. And there's a lot of good material online, and figure out what MCP is, and then figure out what a project is, where you can save things and do it over and over and over again. Like I have one that's I have a podcast too, so I do guest research, and so I've got this whole thing that I kick off. Todd Merrill's the next guest on the podcast, and then it goes and like writes an episode for me. Not that we're going to take the script, but it's kind of takes a lot of emotional lift out of your day. You don't panic, because oh my God, I got 3 hours. And I don't know. But those are the kinds of things that they're little tactical things. Number one, they expose you to the technology, so I think everybody's got to understand what it's capable of. We don't all have to be software engineer, programmer, master prompters, but we do have to understand what's possible, what's not, and then know what to ask for if we're going to ask for help. And then number two, you need a couple of these little agents, or little scripts or projects in your life, to follow up on emails or help you write a proposal or do a little research or all the grindy parts of your job.
Yeah.
You need to figure out how to automate them. Marketing, you probably have content calendars and idea boards, and you can automate all that stuff, or at least it's not going to go do all the content for you. Like I wouldn't recommend that, but you could have it go create a calendar for you, spread them out, create some good ideas, and then I think the last 5% is always going to be human. Yep. And then so you can pick through all these great ideas and go, okay, I want that one, that one, that one, that one, go. And then, let the automation just turn the crank for you. Yeah. And then you can be creative and focus on the strategic value.
Yeah. No, I think that's such a good point is people need to first play, right? Just get familiar, try it. You're going to have to learn it at some point, or at least know enough to manage somebody else who uses it. And then the other thing I think that you brought up is also just, doggone, I just lost my thought, is try it. But then also, doggone, I just lost my thought. Now, I need AI to remind me of what I was thinking about.
So I do, you said, everybody's got to learn this stuff, but at least know it enough to manage somebody who does it. I feel like it's even more important than that. And the more higher up you are on the food chain, the more magnified your value is going to be. And you gotta get this. And then so at a C-suite level, it's almost unforgivable to not be able to leverage this technology. Really, really hurting yourself if you're not adopting it. And at a tactical level, you can kind of hide and get away with it for a minute. But the time is coming where we're all going to have to adopt, or at least be able to order some help for this. I think we're all going to be managers, by the way. We're seeing that in the software world where you interact with these agents as if you're a line manager. Hey, go do this. And then you set objectives and expectations and give resources the same way a leadership person would. And I think that's a great way to use these agents or this agentic technology. I don't know if you remembered what you were going to ask, but
I can't. I don't know what the point was, but you did make me think. How about vibe coding? So that's kind of like the new hot thing. You've got Lovable, Base 44. Like, what are your thoughts there? Because people are using those platforms and they're doing some pretty interesting things.
Right. So this type, like vibe coding or no code, low code, has been the bane of my existence. It's a CTO. So, but there's a but. So, Replit in particular, a lot of the good ones are actually Claude Code, my favorite tool, underneath the covers. And then so I have been preaching this idea of I have this thing called velocity process. So it starts with people talking. So take the transcripts from a bunch of meetings, put that into planning tools, and then I got a couple prompts that I have certain things that I like to do when I like get an idea, and then we go plan and do research and figure out where the holes are. Maybe iterate once or twice, and then the planning is a big deal. And then I go from that, and I make a business plan, and then I make a technology plan that are mated together in a phased implementation approach, which is where I've seen a lot of companies fall down. This is how an experienced CTO runs the world or thinks about the world. Right. And I think the old methods and procedures are still valid, and then to the extent that you can still run a product management process, this is what we always used to do, at least the good ones. That's going to be helpful, right? And then only then, once you've got everything kind of planned out and why and how it all goes together, and here's some context and here's an overall strategy, then we give all those artifacts over to the coding tools. Like I can do that with Claude Code, and I have very strong preferences on infrastructure and how it's laid out, and I've reviewed it and made some tweaks, and I don't like that library, and I'd rather use this other one, and I know this is shiny and new, but let's crank back on safe because that one's burned me, and then only then do you go and automate it, right? And then so I think that's very valuable, and that's the future, right? So versus vibe code, hey, we're going to have beer, I have this idea, let's vibe code it, and then, literally blank sheet of paper, and you put in a paragraph or two, like at most, and you go, YOLO, let's go. And then it's one shot, and then you get some interesting results, and it looks right, kind of right, a lot of times. And then that's, you get your little dopamine hit, and you go, hey, we're in business. But in reality, it's 80% there. You got security holes. You're not going to be able to scale it. You haven't thought about all the things that I probably did, go through my process. So it's super valuable to say, hey, this is what we want to do. Here's what it should look like, and then we can come back and redesign it later. So if it's a one shot, quick fast food throwaway, hey, go for it. You're using the same tools I am underneath, but you're making a lot of assumptions, and then just hope, anything big, you're going to make some mistakes, or the LLM is going to make a lot of mistakes. Yeah. So you're just rolling the dice every choice that you make versus being very intentional and planning, and then letting the automation go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I think it's a good answer, because I think a lot of people are, I can just code it myself now, and I'm going to create a product that I can sell. And you brought up a couple of good points: security in that, and then can you sell something I build on one of these, vibe coding platforms?
You could sell something I wrote on some of those vibe coding platforms for sure, and I'm doing that day in, day out. Like I think I was averaging like one of these every 3 days just to see if I could do it for a minute there, which I got to slow down. But yeah, you can get a 1.0 to market super, super quick. But the problem is, you have to constrain yourself. You can't be anything and everything, on that 1.0, so we have to kind of go through that product management function. You can absolutely get something in the market. People can do that. Right.
Okay.
Not everybody can do that effectively, but I'm a big believer in, and I think I'm a big believer in getting the market quickly and exposing whatever it is you're selling to the customers as early as possible. Can you sell, and then will the customers adopt? Yeah. Those are important milestones. Yeah.
Okay. I agree with that. So that's good news. And then if they do get a viable product, is it backwards for them to come and then find someone like you to actually build it correctly? Or are you seeing people are able to keep evolving?
Yeah, it happened to me a month ago. I was at an investor event, and then somebody came up to me and said, hey, I want $100,000 to finish our prototype that we've been working on for our MVP. We've been working on it for 20 months. I need $100,000. And I said, well, what if I just gave you the code, and it was this real battle of, but we spent 20 months on it and I got it just how I liked it. It's like, well, there's a reason you're 80% done. You're always going to be 80% done, right? It's just crumbly infrastructure. By the way, it's not going to take $100,000 to finish. It's going to take a lot less and a lot less time in the hands of an experienced software engineer who's going to do it a little bit differently and do things that you're not even aware of.
Right.
So this is kind of another thing is, software is going to be not a defensible moat anymore. Just because you wrote software doesn't mean anything. 5-10 years ago, you had to raise a bunch of money, go hire a bunch of software people, spend a year, 6 months, year, 2 years getting something going. It's just not the case anymore. And then so, if you can vibe code it in a couple nights, I can probably re-architect it in a couple hours.
Really?
And then get it out there. And then, so did you really lose a whole lot by vibe coding? No, probably not. And am I upset that I got to rewrite this whole darn thing? No, because, hey, we know what it kind of is supposed to look like. And at least that's a starting point, right? So maybe that's okay. But if I had to throw away 6 months of your work, you'd be upset.
Yeah.
And that'd be a way more serious conversation about, well, I don't know if you're the right person for the job. Right. And then now it's just like, throw it away. I don't care.
Okay.
So maybe that's okay, right? Maybe it doesn't matter.
I guess I see it as people are dreaming and doing things they never would have even considered doing. So I think
for sure.
Yeah, that piece of it that it really excites me. Mm-hmm. The other thing that you had brought up was security. Mm-hmm. That is the part that scares me. Seriously. Yeah. So what can people be doing with all, these platforms that really are open? Are they opening themselves up? And how do they mitigate security issues?
Well, pay me now or pay me later. If you're, dealing with pictures of people's dogs and cats, doing funny things on the internet, pretty low risk, probably not the end of the world if you get breached or hacked. If you're dealing with people's payment for their health care, and all their medical records and their payment card details and, their, background checks, you better not mess around, right? Because that's some serious money, on the line. That's not vibe code territory. So I'd say pay attention to the data, in the business domain. There's a lot of business domains where it kind of, it's not as a high risk. And then, payments, anytime you have money, anytime you have secrets, credit bureau kind of stuff for government, anytime there's healthcare, you're gonna have problems. Stay away from that. I wouldn't vibe code all that stuff on your own.
Okay, fair enough. That makes sense. So
yeah, and then there's a lot to security. And then so if you're in an industry where you're selling to larger companies, eventually like a bank or a hospital, they're going to demand that you have rigor in your security. So at that point, you're going to find out how bad off you are. We're talking about this internally where there's probably needs to be a tool somewhere where you can, go click a button and say, here's my code, here's my website. How bad off am I? So literally wrote that. What's today? Yeah. So I wrote that on Monday and Tuesday of this week, just because, why not?
I think that would be a very valuable tool.
Yeah. And it's not for sale. You can't buy it, but, we just, that's the way the world's going right now.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I am fascinated and I do agree with you. I think it's evolving, and working with somebody who does have a really solid software background, as you do, a fractional CTO, having somebody who has that knowledge that can really manage and oversee, because I agree with you. It's just like having SOPs for how to post or create a document or whatever that is. You need those those first steps. You need the roadmap, right, to really understand where you're going and how to build it. So it all makes sense. Hopefully, people out there who are, dreaming and trying to do something big, understand that it doesn't. Yeah, you can't. The one thing I find with a lot of clients that we talk with is just they want it to do everything all at once. It
No,
just
no,
doesn't work
bad
that way.
idea.
Yeah,
It's not a God particle, I'd
yeah,
say, find point solutions first. And I say crawl, walk, run, right? You got to crawl.
yeah,
Just find some real basic things that make your life better. Compare those with your teammates. And then at some point, you're going to need a little help technology wise to make these into a team project, maybe deploy them internally. And that's walk, right? And then run is, full blown enterprise, deployed solutions to your customers. Like that's not a vibe code situation, right? You should not take
yeah,
that on by yourself. You need some
yeah.
professional help.
Right, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Todd, so much for your time. It's really been a pleasure to get to know you and learn about what you do. And if somebody did want to reach out and talk to you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah. LinkedIn's probably the best way. Todd Merrill on LinkedIn. I'm very open and I post every day. So
Awesome.
it should
Easy.
be pretty easy to find. So,
Great,
yeah.
great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And if anybody out there is interested in learning more about how to strategize and bring AI into your marketing or sales, give Rebel a call. We are so excited about the new year coming. We've got some really good teammates coming out and different things. So reach out to us. And same, you can find me on LinkedIn or go to rebellabs.ai. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you. Bye.